Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 50 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is actually very common, but a lot of people don't know about this fish. And this fish is really important because it's basically the vacuum cleaner of the rivers. Today we are going to be talking about the northern hogsucker. So northern hogsucker, or scientific name Hypentilium nigricans. Again, that is Hypentilium nigricans. It is part of the family Catastomidae, and as you can tell from this mouth, it is part of the suckerfish family, which is a very important family, which we'll get into it in a little bit. It is native to US and Canada, especially, I don't know, it's kind of found everywhere in that. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's native to the Mississippi River Basin, which, it sounds like, one river basin. However, when you think of how large the Mississippi River Basin is, it covers a really large area. But these are found in streams and rivers, and usually they are found in clear, fast-flowing water, especially around oh my goodness, I can't talk today. Especially around riffle areas and warm water. That's not to say that they can't be found elsewhere. They've been found in medium-sized creeks, small rivers, even in reservoirs and lakes. But usually they're found in like your higher order streams and riffle areas that have a bit cooler water than the surrounding area. These are a medium-sized fish. This right here is about as big as I've ever seen one. They're anywhere from about 8 to 15 inches. Which is about 20 to 38 centimeters. The max record is 17 inches. That's 43 centimeters. So that's not necessarily a giant fish, but that's a decent sized fish. I did find the world record for the northern hogsucker is 1 pound 12 ounces, which sits at right at about 800 grams. So that's the world record. Little less than a kilogram. Now they are a slender bodied fish. Really adapted. Remember, they're sitting in these very quick moving waters, so you kind of want them to be very hydrodynamically designed. They have this really large square bony head, and in fact that's probably where 50% of the weight of this fish actually is the skull of this fish is actually very, very thick. And it's really hard to tell here. You can kind of see it here, but you can see it easier here. There's a little indentation in between the eyes. Basically, it looks like someone took a stick and just whacked it right between the eyes, and it just left a dent. And then, yes, the sucker mouth at the bottom. This sucker mouth is crazy. It has it's a little bit protrusible, meaning that they can actually extend it, allowing them to get like under rocks, and in between crevices. And if you notice here, it actually has these, little papillae, these bumps on the lips. And what I imagine that's for them to be able to grip rocks and everything in these fast flowing areas without, it's just to help them grip things. They're sitting in these riffles, which, remember, those are your really quick, your whitewater stuff, in your creeks. And so they're sitting in these trying to scrape, or they're trying to find aquatic insects. And they have that mouth, I think, that helps grip. You notice these fins right here are extremely wide. That's really wide pectoral fins, and it's got this really flat belly with a slightly arched back, and as we said, slender body. All of those point to something living at the bottom, which this thing does, living on the bottom, trying to stay still while it is looking for its food. Final characteristics, you have usually these four, we're gonna call them bars. That there's a bar there, there's a bar there, there's a bar there, there's a bar there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bars. We're gonna say that that's a little generalistic. Sometimes you have distinct barring. More often than not, there's this really modeled pattern, really modeled. Oh, and they have a forked tail, which does help them swim against the current well. Now, these are a very, very energetic feeder. Do not think that these are just, since they're on the bottom, they're just kind of slowly and lethargically moving around. When these things are feeding, they're extremely active. Very, very active. They physically will overturn rocks. That's why they have such a hard head. They'll actually bump their head against rocks to try and turn them over, trying to find all of their food. They'll stir up the bottom. If there's any sand or very small gravel, they'll completely stir it up looking for their food. And what their diet really consists of is benthic. Very obvious. Benthic meaning living on the bottom. Mainly insect larvae, crustaceans, mollusks, diatoms, and obviously some vegetation they get in there. We'll get into that in just a second. And these can live up to 11 years. Now, while these are not directly endangered or in trouble even, think about it, extremely widespread, they do live in the same creeks and streams that a lot of other threatened species do live in. Think about these headwater streams are becoming some of the most endangered habitats in the world. Usually the headwater streams are very unique, and the hogsucker is very common in these. And so even though it is not endangered, it does live with threatened species. Efforts that are helping the other threatened species are just really letting northern hogsuckers take off in number. They're actually doing better than ever. But because of this, because they live in those smaller streams, and because they are in these headwater streams, and usually the threatened or endangered species are hard to catch, usually they're very small or very cryptic, scientists actually use these as bioindicators for stream health. We talked about bioindicators last week, or this Monday, with the bare-hearted glass frog in the other series, Hurt Monday. By the way, please go check that out. And bioindicator is where scientists use something to look at to determine if the health of the habitat is doing. So basically, they use hogsuckers, and they're like, hey, if hogsuckers are here, everything else might be doing okay, because these things like living in very pristine habitats. The hogsuckers move away, they're like, oh, something could be going on for the stream health, and maybe we should look at it. Now, these have been used in aquariums. Cheese, I know you said your grandfather might have had one of these. It's possible. I doubt it, simply because you're from the UK, but it is definitely possible. In America, they're a little more common in your aquarium enthusiasts, especially U.S. native fish aquarium enthusiasts. I've found them for about $12 when they're available. They're not that uncommon. They're pretty easy to catch. In terms of food, they're not really sought after. In terms of food fish, there's just not a lot of meat to them, especially, remember what I said, when half of their body weight is probably head, skull alone, and the world record being 800 grams, you're talking about 400 grams being skull alone, the rest of the grams being, the rest of the body. You probably have 300, let's say 200 in, intestines. So you're probably so you're probably talking about, maybe of the world record fish, you're probably looking at 150 grams of meat, 200 grams of meat. There's not a lot of meat on there. And these just not being a very, but I should mention that there has been in recent years a lot of people actually going out to fish for these. Fly fishermen, things like that, just really going out there just to have fun and catch these. Apparently they're a decent fighter, so couldn't tell you on that one, but really nice seeing people fish for species that are not just largemouth bass or things like that. So now, the interesting fact that we're going to end this video on, just as something interesting, nothing really, critical, super important, just like life-changing. But remember how I said these are an extremely energetic feeder? Well, other fish, like smallmouth bass, long-ear sunfish, other minnows, green sunfish, things like that, will actually go down when they see there's a couple of hogsuckers feeding. They will actually go downstream of the hogsucker and just kind of swim in the current, not leaving each other alone, and they'll follow them to feed on anything that gets shoved up into the current that's exposed by the energetic rooting of this hogsucker, that they don't eat themselves. So that should tell you how much these things overturn and how active these are. When you have things like a smallmouth bass following you, that's almost an apex predator, literally following you to get all the food that you miss. That should tell you how much stuff you're missing and turning over in the sediment and over rocks and things like that. So just a little interesting fact there. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please check out the other series, Hurt Monday. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones.